Good afternoon, everybody, from hot and very hot Arizona, where it's currently 107, soon to be 114. I hope all of you are a little cooler than we are here. I thank all of you for being here and joining us today. My name is Joni Ogg, and on behalf of travelprofessionalnews.com, homebasedtravelagent.com, and findahosttravelagency.com, I want to welcome all of you to today's webinar and thank you for taking time out of your busy day to join with us. Now, known as a very straightforward and energetic force in the industry, our speaker today is the famous Jenn Lee, Travel Planners International's VP of Industry Engagement and Support. Now, Jenn is not a shy lady, and she isn't shy about her obsession with helping travel advisors, always building their empires, no matter the size. And her advice, seriously, is always spot on and relevant, folks. So when she's not working, you'll find, which I don't know when the heck that is, you'll find her cheering on the football team from her home state where she used to live. I won't say the name because she always makes fun of me. Playing with her grandchild, Eliza, who's gorgeous, and enjoying life with friends and a nice glass of Pinot Grigio. So today's webinar topic is Roadmap to Building Your Team and Growing Your Business, which we all want to do. Two very lucky attendees are going to win 30-minute consultations with Jenn. So be sure to listen carefully for your chance to win. And please remember that you are all muted, but I do welcome your questions at any time. And you can type in your questions anytime at all in the question area that you see on the right-hand panel of your screen. And when the presentation is all over, we're going to take as many of those questions as we can. And additionally, during the presentation, Jenn will sometimes come up with a question that she'd like me to field. And I told her this morning we live not too far from Luke Air Force Base here in Arizona, and the jets are out doing their work today. So I am going to mute myself until Jenn calls me in. So if you hear that, you'll know what we're doing. We're going off and on. I just don't want them to interrupt this. So let's turn the microphone over to my good friend, Jenn, so she can get started. Welcome, my friend.
Hello, my friend. Hi, everybody. It's so good to connect with each of you again. And I want to hear the aircraft go over your house, because that just brings me joy. It's like a God bless America moment. So anyways, hi, everyone. So good to see you. Today I was motivated to talk about a roadmap to building your team, because at TPI, we just got done doing a bunch of regional conferences. We call them Rock Your Travel Biz, and we have an event called Building Your Legacy. And in that event, we talk about, it seems to be a very popular topic, people who want to bring on associate advisors. That's what we call them here at TPI. Other people call them sub-agents or ICs. It's like fingernails on a chalkboard when I hear that. But, we hear our advisors all the time saying, I want to make more money. And I think the way to do that is by adding ICs or associates or sub-agents to my team. What's the roadmap? What do I need to know? So I was motivated by that question because there's definitely some definite do's and there are some don'ts, and we're going to talk about both of those. But there is kind of a step-by-step process that by the end of this webinar, and I want you guys to ask me questions as well, so make sure you type your questions in during the presentation so Joni can ask them of me. But by the end of this, my goal is that you either make the decision to build a team or you make a solid decision not to build a team. I know that sounds crazy, but sometimes people think building a team is the answer to their need, and in reality, it is not. And it's a lot more work than most people give it credit. And so I want to make sure you know what's involved, so that when you do get involved with it, at the end, you're making that money, you're building the legacy that you guys so deserve. Okay, sound fair enough? And I know Joni's got it on mute, so I'm assuming she's saying yes. Okay, y'all can type it in. All right, so here are the things that we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about why. That's the very first thing you have to do, is answer the question, why do I want to build a team? You're going to have a plan, and we're going to talk about what that plan should look like. We're going to talk about recruiting. How do you recruit? Where do you find good quality individuals to add to your team? We're going to talk about onboarding. What does it look like to bring them on board with your team? What's some of the plans around that and some of the resources? And as always, I will be sharing tons of resources throughout the webinar as well as at the end, so that you guys can take this information and do more with it afterwards. The next is how to motivate your team. Motivation is a big part of building and keeping a team. I'm going to talk about that. And then I'm going to give you a reality check at the end. And such Jenn Lee standards, I really do believe in being honest with you. So I do want this to be interactive. I see that there's many of you on this webinar. So if you're in the middle of building a team and I'm talking about something and you want to ask a question, please type that in. Joni knows that she can interrupt. All right, so let's start with the why. Recently, at our Building Your Legacy event, I asked the same question, and this will be the foundation to the rest of your plan. So, are you wanting to build a team because you want to grow your revenue? And if you want to grow your revenue, just go ahead and type in grow your revenue. Are you wanting to build a team because you want to diversify your business mix? You know, many people, maybe you love selling cruises, but you know you're leaving money on the table or saying no to things because your cruise lovers are now ready to go to Europe, you know, via FIT or vice versa, or people who want to stay in the United States, but you're not excited about that. You're more excited about sending people to Europe, and you realize, gosh, I'm leaving my clients in the lurch because I am not putting this into my business mix. Maybe adding someone to do that will help you with that. Are you doing this because it's part of your legacy plan? And I'm extremely passionate about this. This is actually my favorite reason why advisors should start building their team. And we're talking about team that are going to be travel advisors, guys, not necessarily assistants and virtual assistants. We're talking about building a team of travel advisors. One of the things we know to be true is that in this industry, there's a ton of people who've been in the industry for 40 years or so, but they're getting old. And I usually say they're going to die, but people get upset when I say that, but it is a fact of life. The people who've been in the industry for a very long time, they're aging out at some point, right? Now we have a whole bunch of you guys that are in the industry now, and many of y'all are still solopreneurs. We need more of you to feel confident in building a business that has a legacy attached to it, so those consumers are not left high and dry. So if you answer legacy plan, if that's part of your long-term thinking, I'd love for you to type that in there. And Joni, you just let me know what they're saying. And another reason why I hear this often, and I want you to shake your head and type it in, is that you find yourself at a crossroads where you can't bring on more clients because you just need someone to help you. You want to be able to throw some of these leads. I just talked to one of our advisors the other day, and she's like, I have leads, more leads than what I can do with, and these are clients. I don't want to give them bad service, but I need help. I need another advisor that I can throw these leads to. Do you need someone to help?
Okay,
These
so
are
I'm going to give you I'm interrupting. I'm going to give you just some ideas of what people are doing. Okay, so you can go on, move on from there. We're getting a pretty much all. People are saying, can I choose all? And of course you can. We have diversify and help. We have diversify, business mix. I think of them all, diversify has been probably the most. Let's see, train advisors, good foundation, someone to help, all of the above. But I think of all of them, I think diversify seems to be the strongest answer there.
Okay, good. I love to hear that. That means you guys have done a great job with your current clients or with your current marketing. And what's happening is you're getting inquiries for things that you're not either comfortable with, excited about, you know, fill in the blank, and you realize, gosh, I'm missing out. So good for you guys. For those of you that say someone to help, I want you to think about something. This is your chance to say to yourself, do I really need an advisor or do I need an assistant? Because when I hear my advisors say, I'm just looking for someone to help, I said, that's about as asinine as a husband and wife getting together saying, you know what, let's have children because one day I want someone else to mow the lawn. So yeah, it just doesn't work that way. You gotta have it as a proactive activity that's helping you build towards a business plan. All right, good. Now that you know your why, you guys have all passed. The next is you have to put together a plan. And I'm sure some of you guys are giggling, but this is just the way I work, okay, guys? So now let's put together a plan. In the plan, you've got to know the law, and I'm going to go over the do's and the don'ts. You've got to prepare a contract prior to ever starting to add people. I'm going to give you some resources with that. You've got to design training for this person. They're not going to just start and you just say, call me if you've got any questions. That's not onboarding. That's not the plan. So you've got to design this training ahead of time so that you feel confident. You've also got to put in your calendar and ask yourself honestly, how much time am I going to be able to carve out daily, weekly, monthly, whatever that looks like, to train this person, to bring this person on board? And then what kind of company structure are you looking for? Many of our advisors at TPI build agencies where the individual associate is kind of selling under their brand and their name. Others bring on and build a team where each individual associate has their own brand and their own name. That's really important to understand. How do you want that? How do you want your company structure to look like with your team? These are all things you do before you start recruiting. You kind of got to walk yourself through this. And I'm going to give you some resources, guys, here in a minute. And then if you're part of a host or a consortia, you've got to dig into what are the rules and the processes for you to bring on a team. It's really important, and we'll talk about this in just a little bit, but it's really important that you have whoever your partners are, that they're going to recognize your team members. If you are working in a situation where they don't let the BDMs talk to your associates, that could be very challenging, and I'll tell you about that through the motivation portion of it. So let's talk about the plan, okay? So probably the biggest thing to know is you've got to know the law around building a team with independent contractors. And if anybody's part of ASTA, and you should be if you aren't, and I'll give you some information on that, but you'll hear them talk about this all the time. There are certain things you can require and other things you cannot require of your independent contractor. Let me read a few of these to you. And actually, Joni, I just thought of something. I've got a handout, like a PDF that I can send out that we use here at TPI. So let's just make sure we remember to tell people they can email me and I'll send it to them. But knowing the law, it's really important. You cannot tell your associate advisor what to do. You can't tell them where they can work or where they can't work. You cannot set your associate agent's schedule for when they will work. In other words, you can't say you need to be available to clients Monday through Friday from 9 to 5. You can't do that. You can't tell your associate agent how to do their job. And this is critical with that question about what's the structure, because many of y'all have a very strong brand, and maybe part of your brand is you answer the phone a certain way. Well, you cannot tell an associate advisor that they have to answer the phone a certain way. You can encourage them to do so. You can tell them that's the expectation, but you can't hold them accountable for it. You cannot dictate your associate agent's business dealings after they separate from you. And we're going to talk a little bit about that a little later on. And you cannot control your associate agent's personal email after they separate from you. So there's a lot of things that you cannot do when it comes to onboarding an independent contractor in building your team. I like to pause here, Joni, if possible, and ask people if they've got any questions with regards to the law. I may or may not know the answer to that.
Okay, I'm on again, so we'll see if there's anything. Anybody have any questions? I will bring up one that I already answered for somebody because it was an individual question. But when you were introducing the topic, you talked a little bit about, what people call them, independent contractors or or whatever it is. And I explained to her, she was asking about the independent contractor and how important that was for the IRS. I answered her that you call them as advisors, correct? But you give them, they are treated as an independent contractor for the law in terms of the IRS, correct?
Yes, that's correct. That's the legal term for them. When I joined the industry 6 years ago, it was like fingernails on a chalkboard to hear people refer to you guys, travel advisors, as home-based ICs. To me, it was like, I don't see anybody wearing a tool belt. They're no contractor, and I don't see a bracelet on their ankle that's going to beep when they leave the dining room table. Want to refer to them as who they are, which are entrepreneurs and business owners. So
perfect.
But
okay.
Yes.
All right, so no, I don't have any questions.
I get on my soapbox about that, Joni. I get on my soapbox about that.
I know, but it's cool. I just wanted to make sure you were clear. They were clear. Also, I don't have any questions right now.
Okay, good. So preparing of the contracts, guys, if you are a member of ASTA, and I'll give you, it's asta.org. If you're a member of ASTA, they actually have an independent contractor agreement that you can use as a template. They also have discounts for lawyers. They also want to answer some questions for you. But your contract should have a few things in it. It's going to have the terms of the agreement. It's going to have the compensation, what's the commission split to the associate advisor, the method of payment, you should have that in there, how you're going to pay them their commission, the rights of the associate advisor to any technologies, names, so on and so forth, ownership of clients, payment of future commissions upon termination, termination of agreement include how much notice one party must give the other before leaving one another. There's definitely some legal stuff in there. So part of your plan is to make sure you've got a contract prepared, okay? Designing training, there's a variety of different ways to do this, and I've got a couple of resources at the end. I highly recommend that you work with a company that is design training for onboarding new to the industry. But there's like Travel Institute has a great one out there, and we use Travel Agent Campus at TPI. But beyond that, how do you have a set plan for teaching them about the travel partners, understanding your CRM, understanding how to submit the sale with your host agency? You know, what's the qualification questions that they should ask? So you, prior to starting to build a team, sit down and build out that plan. And again, I've got some resources at the end that for a small fee, these are not TPI resources, these are third-party resources, but for a small fee, they've done all that work for you. And then the carving out of your time is super important, guys. How much time? How much time do you have to, and how much time are you going to carve out for recruiting and educating and motivating? And then the company structure. All right, so now let's just say you've got all that done. Check the plan. Now we've got to start recruiting. How do you find associate advisors or independent contractors to join your team? And there's a variety of things to think about. Number one, verbiage counts. Do not use the word hire. Do not use the word recruiting in your verbiage. Do not use the words, really mostly hire. Don't use the words hire. Leverage social media sites is a great place for you to do recruiting. Let me just put all these up here real quick, and then we can go from there. Hold on. I was going to do that myself. Okay, so when you are recruiting, you've got a variety of different ways. None of these are the end all be all. None of this is a silver bullet. These are just to get the wheels turning for you guys. Whenever you're talking about building your team, you always never want to use the word hiring. You never really want to use the word onboarding. Instead, you probably want to use things like, we're building our agency here. We're looking for folks who, you know, want to build their own book of business. You know, I'm looking to build a team here that's passionate about, let's just say you're looking for a Disney expert. Make it very specific. You know, I'm an agency. I've been in business for 12 years. I would like to jump into the Disney realm. I'm looking to add an independent contractor who loves Disney. Be specific, because the more specific you are, the better chances you have of recruiting, onboarding the person that you're looking for. Leverage your social media sites. Many of our advisors have done Facebook ads and have done that with great success. I've got advisors that have positioned this as a way where they are doing a group. So in other words, hey, my next training class is opening for 10 advisors that want to join our team. It's going to start in June, and in September, we're accepting interested party applications, blah, 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 prior to it. Again, more specific. Utilize hiring sites. So one of our top producing advisors, he has brought his team on via Indeed. And again, you got to be careful with your verbiage. But honestly, placing an all call out there is really the best way to find people that want to be part of your team. It could be within, listen to your clients. You know, some of your clients may say things to you like, God, you know, I don't know how you do all of this, or boy, this is so exciting. You must really love your job. And then you tell them the reality of it, and they still say, I think it's kind of interesting. Why don't you ask them more about it? Have you ever thought about doing this? I know you've traveled to Italy 10 times with me. Have you ever thought about becoming an Italy specialist? An all call on your social media sites. I'm looking to build my team. Pick up the phone and call your friends. Ask them, who do you know? I'm looking to expand my team. I'm looking for someone who can focus solely on cruises. Do you happen to know anybody who's really passionate about cruise and is looking to do something a little part-time to begin with? It's really all about getting the word out in a smart and efficient way. That's it for recruiting. There's the interviewing process, which, I've got actually a list of questions. Again, if you email me at the end, I'll give you the list of questions. I've also got some questions you should ask yourself as well. But that's really the next part, is the recruiting part. And most people don't have a problem recruiting. It's the next part that they have a problem with, the
Okay,
onboarding.
whoa. Before you start, can I ask one question?
Yes,
Okay, thank
no,
you. Just if you could
yes.
just go back to the place and all call and just maybe explain that a little bit further, because someone had a couple questions about what that really meant, all call. And I'm just, if you can just kind of hit on that. Thank you.
You're welcome, my pleasure. All call is actually a term that's used in phone systems when you're paging people all over the building. It's an all call, right? Like paging everyone. I just want everyone to know I'm looking for this, who can help me? So that's what I mean by an all call. So place an all call with your friends, your family, with your clients. In previous webinars, and I can't remember which one it is, I think it's the loyalty one, which I'm actually going to give you that as a resource at the end. But we talk a lot about how instead of asking for referrals, you invite people to be part of your story. And so being part of your story is saying, hey, listen, I'm building my business. I want to take my agency to the next level, and I think I'm ready to bring on an additional advisor. Who do you think I should reach out to that may be able to connect me with somebody? Where do you think I should look? I mean, it's not a hiring thing, but tell people what you're trying to do and invite them to be part of the story. That's what I mean by an all call. Just start telling people about it. Does that make sense?
Totally, but I have one more question now.
Okay.
Is there a way to get the verbiage for how to call the ads or how to place the ads?
Is there a way to get the verbiage?
I think they're asking, what would be a good way to say it? Okay, I mean, I think that's what they're saying.
Sure. And this, whoever's asking, send me an email and I'll give you some of this. But it's something loosely like this. Hey, this is Jen. I own a boutique travel agency here in Central Florida. We are expanding and looking for individuals who are looking to start their own business by their own travel business, but yet still want to work as part of a team. If you know somebody who is interested in cruises and loves to cruise and would love to help other people cruise, please give me a call at ABC, send me an email at 123. It's probably better way around. Phone call at 123 and an email at ABC.
Okay, perfect.
It's as simple as that. Here's what I'm looking to do. Here's who I'm looking for. Here's how to get a hold of them.
Perfect.
But if whoever asks that question, just send me an email and send me what you're thinking you want to say, and I'll tell you if it's good or not. I'll give you feedback. Any other questions before
Nope.
I move on?
That's it for now.
Onboarding. All right, now onboarding, it just seems so simple, folks, and it can be if you have your plan. So here are the things, the areas for onboarding to take into consideration. You ever heard that saying, good paper makes for good friends? Have you ever heard that, Joni? There's probably an airplane
Nope,
going over.
I'm back. Yes, I have.
Okay, so good paper onboarding. In other words, make sure you've got that contract tightened up and that that you have answered all of the questions. Do not send a contract over to somebody and tell them to sign it and send it back. You should review it paragraph by paragraph with them. The hardest part, the fastest way to success is doing all the work up front. So make it painful in the beginning, scare them to death in the beginning, and if they still say yes, now they've kind of gone through it. And a good contract will help you through that process. Education, education, education. I cannot say enough about this. You cannot onboard somebody and say, oh, listen to these 3 webinars and then let me know what you think. It's got to be you setting up time to go through it with them and afterwards. And again, going back to that plan, having a training plan or an education plan put together, step by step, day by day, for the first 3 weeks, 30 days is really important. Stick to a schedule of some sort. Now, you can't require them to be there, but at this point, it's early on in the relationship. You can say even during your interview, and I say that in parentheses, quotes, I mean, during the interview process, hey, listen, this is going to be a good 60 days before you're going to feel, confident. And it's probably going to be longer than that. But, first 30 days, we need to talk every single day for 30 minutes. Let's find time right now to do that. Put together a training or an education or a touching schedule in the very beginning and stick to it. And so it might need to be after hours. If you might have to put together a schedule for yourself that you're not in reactive mode and this is your proactive. Because guys, remember this is your chance to be proactive to grow your business. The time that you put in now will be fruitful tenfold over if you do it right. And then next, lean on a community of some sort. Here at TPI, we've got a Facebook group just for people who are building their agency so that they can ask questions. Hey, how do you handle this situation? So whatever, wherever your circle of influence is with other travel advisors, lean on that community to help you with the onboarding, help you, introduce this advisor to other communities. You also, as you're building your team, you want to create a really strong community and make sure that those fellow advisors within your team are actually helping your new advisors joining the team. So again, the contract is really good paper, makes for good friends. There's your onboarding. Now you've already put together your training schedule. That was part of your plan. Now you've onboarded them. What questions do we have there?
I've got one here that says, what is the Facebook group you were talking about?
Oh, it's a TPI Facebook group. It's called Rockstar Agency Builders. So if you're a TPI advisor, just send me an email and I'll let you in.
And Jen, you know what? A lot of people are asking for your email, and I know you're going to bring it on at the end. I've been answering a few of them with that. But
Yeah.
do you want to just tell them again so everybody can just jot it down right now?
Yeah, no problem. It's Jenn, JENNL, at tpionline.com.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Guys, Joni sends me all your information afterwards, but I tend not to send you emails. I'd rather you reach out to me than me reaching out to you.
Perfect.
All right, now the next two things that I'm going to talk about are very important. This is when things kind of go sideways, guys. Motivating. Now let's just say you've recruited, you had your plan, you've onboarded them, they're trained, they're excited, they're ready to rock and roll, you've taken their training wheels off, you told them, get out there, get finding some clients. Well, as all of you know, when you first started, chances are your phone did not start ringing off the hook, right away. So you've got to understand that these are human beings and they need motivation. They might feel insecure. They might not be self-motivated. Many will be, and that's actually one of the questions that I have in this PDF that I'll send you. It's one of the questions that you should ask during the interviewing process. Like, how are you motivated? Are you motivated by money? Are you motivated by sales? Are you motivated by winning? Are you motivated by helping others solve problems? By the way, people who say they're only motivated by money are not good team members, FYI. Because money comes and goes, which means their motivation comes and goes. You want to bring on board people who are self-motivated, who like to win, who like to serve others, and make money. But money should not be the number one motivator. Okay, so the best thing, our advisors, the agency owners that we have here at TPI, they set goals for advancement within the team. So it could be, we have one, she's wicked smart. She not only set goals, once you hit a certain dollar amount in commissions received, she's going to give them another 5% commission of the split, but she also does like monthly competitions for them. How many new leads did somebody get? She gives them points for various things that they have more control over. And at the end of the year, she awards 2 people, 2 advisors with a free trip. They go on a trip with her. And so, you've got to come up with things that help people, reach for a goal. So set goals for advancement. Again, we're all humans. We like recognition. So when somebody's done something great, make sure you publicly recognize them. Also, one of the things that we find is really important is, I'll give you an example, our ALGV and Delta Vacations and Celebrity Cruise BDMs always send me an email once a month of who the top TPI producers were for that month. Well, I send a personal email when I have time. I send a personal email to every single one of them saying, hey, congrats, you were one of the top 50 ALGV producers this month. You know, we all need some recognition, and so that goes a long way, guys, from a motivation standpoint. We talked about community a little bit. Create a tight community within your team. Many of our advisors that have put together great agencies have their own private Facebook group. They celebrate one another's birthdays. They ask each other questions. They give kudos to one another. Create a tight community of people who want to help one another. Some of our more successful agency owners put on their own little conferences. You know, they might meet in in Mexico somewhere at an all-inclusive, work with your BDMs and say, hey, I now have 10 people, or maybe you and 2 other advisors that have brought on 2 associate advisors within your team. You get together and say, we want to do a celebratory congratulations, end of the year mastermind trip. Get creative. Use those BDMs to help you get discounts, and I'll put together things for you. So little mini conferences. And then feedback. Feedback is so important. And I want you guys to write these four words down. This is actually on my pencil holder, and it's the promise that I have here at TPI for feedback with all of our advisors as well as with our team members here. And feedback is only successful if it is direct, if it is clear, if it is timely, and if it comes from a place of kindness. Direct, clear, timely, and kind. Nobody ever wants you to come to them on a Friday at 3 and say, for the last 4 months, I've been meaning to tell you, you really stink at this. Nobody, that's not feedback. That's cruelty. That's what that's called. That's called cruelty. So feedback, people want to know. They want to be guided along the way. This is critical right here, guys. All this other stuff you can pay someone else to help you with. It's all paper and logistics. This right here is the crux of building a team and building a legacy, is motivating your team, setting goals for them, recognizing them, creating a community that makes them loyal to one another, getting together, and then providing them feedback.
Okay, I have a question.
What questions and ideas? Yes,
I have one question right now. What was the last item? So if you could repeat those again. Direction.
Sure.
Okay.
Direct, clear, timely, and kind.
Okay.
Be kind. Like a kind bar. Be kind.
That's it for right now.
Excellent. All right. Here's your reality check, folks. They will leave you. You will do all this work, and they will leave you at some point. Sometimes it could be you. It could be that you were horrible at the motivation. You never met with them. They didn't feel like they got the recognition. They feel like they can do it on their own. They don't feel the loyalty. It could be you, and they could leave you. You've got to go into this knowing that it might not work. You've got to go into this, and this is where a lot of our advisors charge ahead of time. Like they say, hey, listen, we're going to do this whole training together. Travel Institute is $500. I want you to be part of ASTA. You can require things prior to them joining you. I want you to be part of ASTA. I want you to be part of this. And they could leave you. So make sure the time that you're putting in and that the interview process that you have, they're in it to win it with you, right? But you also have to do your job. In some cases, it could be them. It could be, you know what, they didn't think it was going to be this hard. As much as you told them ahead of time, this is not an easy job. It's definitely fulfilling once you get going. It could be them. It could be them. And I just want you to understand something. It's going to be okay, no matter what. Many of our advisors have called me over the years, practically in tears or super frustrated. I spent all this time and energy, and then this person never produced anything. Well, you know what? That's okay. Now you've learned what you could do differently. You've learned what type of person along the way may be best. There are others, and again, at TPI, we have many of our advisors that have started out with a main advisor and have blossomed and have done really, really well. And the main advisor has said, you should be out on your own. Go fly, little birdie. And you should be proud that you helped somebody else get into this industry and build an agency, you know, turn that passion into something that's really profitable. That means more consumers are being helped. But that's your reality check. You could do all of this right, or you could screw it up. But what I want you to know is you did not fail. And that's really important. Just because they leave doesn't mean you failed. It's just gonna be okay. So that's the reality check. Any questions about that before I share my resources? And then I want to open it up for all kinds of questions.
No questions.
All right, guys, here are the resources that I talked about. There are two companies that I believe highly in that have created new to the industry onboarding for your team type programs. One of them is Masters in Travel with Whitney Schindler and Corrine Johnson. I make no money off of this. This is just me sharing good resources. They actually have a training program or an education program where they do the education and they hand it back over to you. It's called Be a Master in Travel. And then Travel Advisor Resource Center. He's got a resource center that's got a step-by-step how to onboard somebody new to the industry. So those are two really great resources. I always like to talk about different webinars that I've done in the past. And in this case, these two webinars that I've done with my good friend Joni are applicable to today's topic. One of them is curating a loyal fan base. And it's really talking about curating a loyal fan base from a client perspective, but there's a lot of, it's really about curating a loyal fan base of humans. So I think that's a really good one for you to listen to. And how to never hear another no again is really about the 4 personality types out there, bull, owl, lamb, and tiger. And those 3 different personality types, you really need to understand that, to understand how to communicate, not just with your team, but also because they all learn differently, they all think differently, they all communicate differently, they're all motivated differently. And if you listen to that, you'll learn these 4 personality types and what their main motivators are. But heck, this helps you just in life, for heaven's sakes. I mean, I'm still married because I understand bulls, owls, lambs, and tigers. Then the next is, and the next is ASTA, asta.org. I am a firm believer that every travel professional should be a member of our trade association. I'm highly involved with ASTA. I'm on many committees. I'm actually running for the board, the recording of this webinar, I'm running for the board right now. But, you know, I think asta.org, you should go there, check out the resources. It's imperative that you're part of your trade association. And then it's an open all call for everybody. Feel free to join myself and about 1,000 other advisors on our Fiercely Forward Facebook group. This is not a TPI group at all. It is a group I put together right in the middle of 2020. There was some stress going on. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but we had some stress going on in the industry. And I put this, this group together just to provide us with positive motivation, ideas. We don't talk about partners. Nobody's complaining. It's really just a group to support one another. So if you go to Fiercely Forward Travel Advisors in Facebook and request access, I will let you. Phew, that was a lot.
It was a lot, but it was all good. So I do want to just mention one thing to everybody. I'm going to put something, everybody will see it in their chat. I'm going to send it to everyone. So if you want to hear any of Jenn's amazing webinars, I'm going to put the link to our site where they're posted and an explanation of how you can get to see those webinar recordings, okay? She's got a picture of it there, but just in case you need the actual URL, I'll send that over.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right, so I'd love for anyone who's listening to just ask me any question about this. What objection do you have? I mean, obviously you're listening because you've got some sort of reason. You're trying to either decide whether or not you want to build a team. Maybe you have a team that's not working. This is your chance to ask me anything.
I'm waiting. Come on, folks, bring it on.
It's okay.
Okay, here's one. How fast should one build a team? Or basically, how long would it take, preferably, I guess?
It's an excellent question. I've seen successful advisors do it 2 ways. One, they do one at a time, and so some of our most successful ones, they sat down and they looked at their their agency, and they said, it kind of goes back to that very first slide, right? So am I doing this because I want to diversify? If you want to diversify, then you need, this is really long. Oh, here we go. If you want to diversify, then you've got to say, what is it that you want to look at? Now, maybe it's easier for you to just bring one person on board. Let's just say your diversification is on cruises. You want someone to do cruises. Well, then I would probably bring on one person. Get them up and running, work out the kinks in your education plan, get them going, and then your next one, you say, okay, I want a Mexico specialist. I'm making it up, guys. Then you say, okay, great, now I'm going to start recruit for that. So maybe in that case, I would do one at a time. Other advisors that we have at TPI have built agencies in batches. They say they have two educational sessions a year where they're building their team, and they bring on 5 to 7, and in one case 10 at one time, and they go through the training together. So it makes it easier to segment their time. It makes it easier. They've already created a community of newbies that are a part of the team. So it really just depends on your organization structure and what you're trying to accomplish. If you just want to increase or grow revenue and you don't care what the diversification is, then just say, hey, look, I'm looking to add 5 people all at one time. Everyone's going to start training in June.
Okay.
I hope that helps.
So somebody asked to repeat your email, but I did put it in the chat function. So folks, I sent her email in chat, so you should all be able to see that, and also a link to the webinars. Okay, so here's another one. Let's see. What is the best way to pay them?
I'm not sure if you're asking technically the best way. We have a lot of advisors that use PayPal or Venmo, from an organization, from a technology standpoint, depending on your host agency and how you get paid. Many of our advisors choose to pay once a month until they get to a certain dollar amount, and they pay them more often. I have our largest advisor, who has over 250 associates on his team. He pays those that do a certain dollar amount once a week, even before he gets paid, because he knows what they're going to get. So, you can pay them via PayPal, Venmo, Zelle, check. Get with your accountant on that. There might be a way they want you to do it.
Good suggestion.
I don't know if that was your question.
I'm sure that was, yeah.
Okay,
so when is it time to look at building a team? Is it too early if you have not yet reached your own profit goals? It's a good question.
It's an excellent question. I would say if you're motivated to do it now and you find you have a good solid plan, okay, and you've got time and you know what you're going to do with that person, okay, now is a good time. Because you're not it's kind of like when people ask me about when's a good time to hire an assistant, and you usually never think you've got the money to hire a virtual assistant or an assistant or a marketing assistant or anything, or social media person, until it's too late, and then you don't have time to slow down enough. So I think it's kind of cool that if you're thinking, listen, I'm not so overwhelmed that I can't dedicate some time. Now might be the perfect time for you, but have a good solid plan.
Okay. What are types of things that we can require of our associate? Because you mentioned training, ASTA, et cetera, but I thought we couldn't require anything from them. Another great question.
Yep, so you can require anything prior to them signing an agreement. You can make it part of the agreement as part of the onboard. So as an example, here at TPI, everybody is an independent contractor legally at TPI. But prior to joining us, you have to be a member of ASTA. You have to have already joined ASTA if you're new to the industry. You have to already join ASTA, and you have to have already taken industry training. So once they come to the table with those 2 things, we know they've done those 2 things. Now we bring them on board. Once they come on board, you really can't require anything. Now you can have in there, just like any contractor, there's a scope of work. But you have to be really super careful. You can't say you have to sell so much, otherwise you're off the team. Because now you're telling them how to run their business as a contractor. But you can say, we're going to have a 6-month check-in. And at 6 months, here are some of the things that you should have achieved at that point. We'll have a conversation. Again, get with ASTA, look at those contracts. I am not a lawyer, nor do I pretend to be one. And I don't stay in Holiday Inn Expresses, so I don't have that kind of mindset either. So prior to them coming on board, you can require that to be part of your team. prior to them coming on board.
Okay, that's absolutely true. And the only thing I would mention is that, folks, when you're bringing somebody on and they're excited about the industry, they really want to learn and they're going to
Yeah,
take your suggestions. You're not telling them what to do, you're just nicely offering opportunities and suggestions. And then they make the choice themselves. But they certainly, it's not like telling somebody what to do. It's basically just saying, well, this is a really great resource. And you never know if they'll pick up on it or not. Just my thought.
absolutely. And that's why, telling them, and that's so true, Joni. It's also important to say prior, during the quote unquote interview process, just like, to be successful, this is what we find works. And these are the things that you're probably gonna have to do. Otherwise, you may not see the success you so desire. And again, to Joni's point, they'll either say, yeah, that's fine at that time, or they'll say, no, I don't want to do any of that. I thought I'd get free leads and I could go on cruises for free. I don't understand. What do you travel advisors do if you don't travel for free and work from the beach?
Okay,
Very
now that you got me laughing. Okay. Okay, I have a question, another contract one, and this is a good question too. Can you dictate that an advisor stay within a niche, or especially if they are an independent contractor?
I don't believe so. I think you can say, I'm looking for someone who will specialize in this, but I don't believe you can limit their ability to make money.
That's true.
It's a
Okay.
great question. I do not
Yeah,
know
it's a
the
great
answer to
question, but that
that.
is true. Your answer is correct. Okay,
Yeah.
so how often do you think you should review and update your contract with a lawyer? Do you think it's best to do an addendum with changes or just leave those contracts in place and use the updated one going forward?
Okay, at TPI, we just experienced this. We've been in business for 35 years. We've been a host for a good portion of this. We've had advisors that were with us that have been with us for 20 years, and we were still operating off of the current contract, their contract that they signed with us 20 years ago. We realized that in it didn't have privacy policies, it didn't have a ton of stuff. So we made everybody sign a new contract. It didn't change the terms of the agreement, but it was a bunch of stuff. I think, when you start having addendum after addendum after addendum, I would say it's best to just put together a new agreement. Laws change quite a bit. Words that were okay 2 years ago, 3 years ago, maybe a little sticky now. Again, another reason to be part of ASTA. There's free legal resources that are there, plus amazing training to all of us. But yeah, we just made everyone sign a new one because they were all over the place.
That's a good suggestion. Okay, so someone has a interesting thought that I'm just going to share because it's really helpful. She says that their interviewing is heavy on work ethic and how many hours will you invest. I have two scenarios that I ask them to respond to. So if they're saying that, I'm assuming they're going to have to say that before they bring them on, correct?
Yes, I
Okay.
think it's also part of the conversation um, of the culture of the team that you're trying to build. And so you're going to pick up on people, you can ask open-ended questions. The number one question, anybody who's ever listened to a webinar with Jenn Lee, the number one question I ask is, what is motivating you? You will get your answers to whether or not there are red flags to this person with just that question.
Okay.
So I don't know if I answered the question.
I think so. Okay. Should
Okay.
should we charge a monthly membership fee to join our team?
Yeah, you can certainly charge a monthly membership. I wouldn't call it a membership. I would just say it's an administration fee. But yeah, I mean, like at TPI, we charge, and all host agencies probably charge per associate advisor. There's nothing wrong with charging, passing that cost on to your associate.
Okay. Are there travel specific virtual assistants that already exist?
Yes. Do you want to know the name?
I'm sure.
I always forget the name. There is a company that focuses on virtual assistants for travel advisors. Hold on, let me check my text because I have to ask my friend Whitney every single time because every time I forget. Hold on, let me see. Taylor Assistant Services.
Perfect. And Cindy, thank you. She just shared that as well.
Okay, good.
Okay. All right. Let's see. The let me see what this one is. Okay, somebody says that the answer I got from a person who I'm speaking with now was I book family friend trips all the time and I want to get paid for it now. What do you think of such an answer?
I think that's a typical answer for many very successful travel advisors. That's what motivates a lot of people. They realize they're doing all this work, and then they realize they could be making money for it. So I think that's fine. I don't think there's
Okay.
anything wrong with it. I would say, share with me your goals outside of your family and friends. What's motivating you besides just making money off your family and friends? Because all of us know, right? I'm sure you're going to start nodding your head the second I say this. All of us know your family and friends are your worst clients.
Okay, everybody's asking again for the name of the virtual assistance company. So I'm going to put it in the chat. Can you give me that one more time, Jen, so I do
Yeah,
have?
it's Taylor, hold on, I just got rid of it. Stand by, hold on, people. Taylor Assistant, Taylor Assistant Services.
Is that sailораssistantservices.com?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I'll put it in the chat, everybody. All right. So then somebody just sent it. Thank you, Christy. I'll copy that. Um,
Hi, Christy.
Also, hi, Christy. Also, Christy had a really good comment I'm going to share. She said, I found out the hard way to really have the discussion about selling travel to others and not wanting to become a travel agent just to get commission on their own trips. Motivation is a big one and their true intentions, which is very true.
Yeah, yeah. And we experience this at TPI as well. Some people say, hey, I just, all my neighbors are constantly going on trips and we're talking about it. I feel like I can help them, and why not make some money on the side? We get that a lot. And in some cases, that's great. It's really how you present yourself to them. But what we find is, and it doesn't matter if it's the travel industry or any other industry, in my previous life, this was the same in every industry I ever worked with small business owners. Your family and friends only see you a certain way. And unless you take it super serious and you show how serious you've launched a business, have launched a travel agency, or have opened a travel agency, they tend to not see you that way. So I think you just have to let people know ahead of time. That's great. That's a great place to start. What happens if all of them say no? What's the plan?
Perfect. Okay. Does anybody have any other questions? Because I think we're about ready to take your questions and get the answers to that and give away the prize.
All right.
All
Two
right.
prizes.
Yeah, that's right. Two prizes. Okay. So let's go ahead and do that then. So folks, what we're going to do is I'm going to ask the question. Or Jen, do you want to ask the question?
Yeah, I'll ask them. I have them right here.
Okay. Jen will ask the question, and then I need you to type in the questions area as quickly as you can, and I will take the fifth correct answer, the answer to the question, and we will announce it. Then we'll do the next one. So the first question is, if everybody's ready, okay, what
All right.
is Jen's? Oh, Jen's going to do it. Okay, I'm just
Okay,
reading it
go
today.
ahead.
I'm sorry,
Go
I'm
ahead.
not with it. Okay, go ahead, Jen. Sorry.
What is my favorite reason for wanting you to build a team? What is my favorite reason for you wanting to build a team?
I'm waiting for the fifth. Okay, got the fifth one. All right, the answer to that is legacy, and
Woohoo!
Susan Amable is the
Nice.
winner. All right, so Susan, we will be providing your name and email to Jen and her team, and they will get back to you to help you schedule that. All right, ready for the next one, folks? Okay, just one sec. Let me clear my chat here so I can make sure that I see them correctly. Okay, true or false? Oh, no, Jen, true or false? You do it. I'm so sorry. I'm so used to doing it. I
I
can
don't
just
care.
automatically do it.
Whatever. Okay, so this is a true or false question. True or false? If an advisor leaves your team, it's because you have failed.
I will take the fifth one again. Well, boy, everyone got this right. Lordy be.
Good.
Okay, Terry Leonard says false, and that is the correct answer, correct?
Woo-hoo.
All right, good job, Terry. All right, so folks, any other questions for Jen? Amazing presentation, Jen. Everybody loved it. The interaction, of course, between all the questions that I have given you, everybody goes, "I love Jen. I love Jen. I love Jen." So those,
Aw, you guys
I
are
just didn't,
awesome.
share all those, because they know that I know how much they love you. Oh, some people are
Uh-huh.
telling me they love me too. Well, thank you, folks.
Yeah, I love Joni.
You guys are great. What a great audience. Thank you all for being here today. Jen, you have anything else you want to say, or I'll close it out?
No, guys, just keep moving fiercely forward and start breathing. We can let out our breaths a little bit. It's time to exhale. We're on the other side of this, y'all.
Okay, well, someone just asked this question, which we did address earlier, so I just want to make sure you all know. The email for the PDFs or anything like that would be Jen's email, which I did put in the chat. So it's JENN initial L at T as in Tom, P as in Paul, I as in India, online.com. So make a note of that. And everybody have an amazing rest of your day. And thank you all so much for being here. Bye bye.
Thanks, guys.